Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel BBC Rare Coins. Today, we're diving into one of the most iconic coins in American currency, the US quarter dollar. Let's start. Top 1. In the world of American coin collecting, few coins have stirred as much excitement, curiosity, and disbelief as the elusive 1965 Washington quarter, a coin that, on the surface, looks just like the millions of others struck that year. But hidden among those ordinary coins is a version so rare, so unexpected, that one example reportedly sold for an astonishing $52,000. And the reason why? It was never supposed to exist. That to understand why the 1965 quarter is so special, we need to go back to the early 1960s. For decades, U.S. quarters were made of 90% silver. But by 1964, rising silver prices were creating a crisis. People were hoarding silver coins, melting them down for their metal value, and the cost of producing coins was skyrocketing. In response, the U.S. Mint made a bold move. Beginning in 1965, quarters would no longer be made of silver. Instead, they would be struck on a copper-nickel clad planchet, a layered metal blank with a pure copper core and a nickel coating. It was cheaper, more practical, and the new coins could be made in higher volumes to meet demand. So, in theory, number 1965 quarter should contain a trace of silver. The entire minting process had switched over to the new clad planchets. But somehow, against all odds, a few leftover silver planchets from 1964 managed to find their way into the minting presses, and they were struck with the 1965 date. These coins slipped through the system, indistinguishable to most people from the standard copper-nickel versions, and ended up in circulation. For years, their existence was doubted. Some believed it was a myth. But eventually, collectors began to uncover the truth that a genuine 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet weighs about 6.25 grams, noticeably heavier than the standard clad quarter, which weighs just 5.67 grams. The silver version also has a distinct shine, a slightly different tone, and, most importantly, lacks the telltale copper-colored edge visible on clad quarters. If you find a 1965 quarter that looks too bright, feels too heavy, or just doesn't seem right, it might be worth a second look and a trip to a precision scale. Only a small handful of these silver 1965 quarters are known to exist. They are considered mint errors, but not the kind caused by a simple flaw or defect. These are transitional errors, coins struck during a shift in metal composition, making them incredibly rare and valuable. Their rarity is so extreme that when one appeared at auction, it sparked a bidding war among elite collectors. The final price? Over $52,000. For a coin that someone once likely used to buy a soda. This kind of coin is the ultimate dream for collectors. Not just a historical artifact, but a hidden treasure that went unnoticed in pockets, drawers, and cash registers for decades. Imagine finding one in your old coin jar. Imagine the rush of realizing you might be holding a $50,000 mistake, one that looks just like an ordinary quarter. It's not just about money. It's about history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. The 1965 silver quarter stands as a reminder that even in a world of mass production and industrial precision, mistakes can, and do, happen. And sometimes, those mistakes become the most valuable of all. So next time you're flipping through your spare change or sorting through an old coin collection, keep your eyes open. That plain-looking quarter from 1965 might just be something extraordinary. It might be a relic of the silver era that slipped through the cracks. It might be one of the rarest modern coins in existence. And who knows? You might be holding the next $52,000 coin in your hand without even knowing it. Top 2. In the world of American coins, certain pieces rise above the rest, not just for their age, condition, or metal content, but because of the mysterious stories behind them. Among them, the 1972 Washington quarter stands out as one of the most baffling, rarest, and most expensive error coins in U.S. history. A coin that looks like every other pocket change quarter, yet one specimen has sold for an unbelievable $67,000. Not because it's old or made of gold, but because of a one-in-a-million minting mistake that transformed it from ordinary into legendary. By 1972, the Washington quarter had been in circulation for 40 years. It featured the same design that Americans had seen since 1932, George Washington's profile on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. It had long since transitioned from 90% silver to copper-nickel clad and was produced by the millions every year. Nothing about the 1972 quarter, at first glance, seems unusual. It's a workhorse coin, found in vending machines, cash registers, and piggy banks across the country. But then came the discovery. A single 1972 Washington quarter with a flaw so rare and so dramatic, it stunned the numismatic community. A coin struck not just with an error, but with a double denomination. One of the rarest types of minting errors, a double denomination happens when a coin is first struck with one denomination's design, say, a penny, and then struck again with another, like a quarter. In this case, the 1972 quarter was mistakenly struck over a Lincoln cent planchet. That means part of Abraham Lincoln's design and the copper-red color of a penny still peek through, overlapping with George Washington's face and the eagle on the back, that it's a surreal sight. Imagine looking at a quarter, and beneath the familiar details, you start to see the ghostly traces of another coin underneath. It's a coin that shouldn't exist. The U.S. Mint has countless systems in place to prevent this kind of mistake. Automatic sorting, weight checks, machine calibrations, but somehow, this one slipped through. And that's what makes it priceless. Only one known 1972 double-denomination quarter struck on a penny has been found in pristine condition. The collector who discovered it knew instantly that it was something special. It wasn't just a misaligned strike or a scratch. This was a complete overlapping of two coins from two different systems. The resulting coin is like a piece of minting folklore, a physical contradiction. And when it finally went to auction, bidders from around the world showed up. The hammer dropped at a staggering $67,000. That's $67,000 for a coin that, technically, is still only worth 25 cents. But in the world of rare coins, value isn't just about denomination. It's about impossibility. It's about holding a piece of history that shouldn't have survived, that represents a perfect storm of timing, equipment error, and human oversight. What makes this coin even more fascinating is how close it came to being lost forever. It could have been spent, tossed in a fountain, or dropped down a storm drain. But it wasn't. It was seen, recognized, and preserved. Proof that treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places. Next time you get change from a store, take a moment. Flip through those quarters. Look at the edges. Feel the weight. Check the details. Because you never know when a $67,000 mistake might be staring you right in the face. The 1972 Washington quarter, one of the rarest, most valuable error coins in U.S. history. A coin that proves even the smallest objects can carry the biggest stories. Top 3. In the world of U.S. coin collecting, most people pass over the Washington quarter without a second thought. It's one of the most common coins in circulation, practical, simple, and familiar. But not all Washington quarters are equal. Some carry secrets that can only be seen by the sharp-eyed and the fortunate. And in one remarkable case, a single 1980 Washington quarter shocked the coin world when it sold for a staggering $49,000. Not because of its age, not because of silver or gold content, but because of a rare and nearly impossible minting error that transformed it from spare change into treasure. The year 1980 was not particularly special in the history of American coinage. Quarters that year were made of standard copper-nickel clad and struck by the millions. The design was the same. George Washington's iconic profile on the obverse, the eagle spreading its wings on the reverse. It was business as usual at the U.S. Mint. But hidden among the hundreds of millions of 1980 quarters, one coin came out unlike any other. A mistake, an accident of timing, machinery, and human oversight, turned that coin into one of the rarest Washington quarters in existence. This 1980 quarter wasn't struck on a typical blank planchet. Instead, it was struck on a Susan B. Anthony dollar planchet, a coin blank intended for a completely different denomination. Imagine that, a coin designed to be a dollar, with a completely different size, weight, and composition, ended up carrying the image and markings of a quarter. That kind of mistake is called a wrong planchet error, and it's one of the most desirable kinds of mint errors among serious collectors. The result is stunning. The quarter design doesn't quite fit on the dollar-sized planchet. Parts of the rim are missing. The edges don't look right. There's a gap between the design and the edge of the coin. It almost looks fake, but it's very real. The U.S. Mint is an incredibly efficient, high-speed operation, But sometimes, a coin like this gets past every check and lands in circulation unnoticed. The coin surfaced years later, discovered by someone who knew enough to recognize it was unusual. It was authenticated by experts, carefully examined for its weight, dimensions, metal composition, and strike details. There was no doubt. It was a genuine 1980 Washington quarter struck on a Susan B. Anthony dollar planchet. And because no other example had ever been confirmed from that year, it was considered a unique mint error, one that when it hit the auction block, collectors and dealers around the country took notice. This wasn't just a rare coin. It was a minting mystery, a historical anomaly. After a competitive round of bidding, the final price landed at a jaw-dropping $49,000. That's right, $49,000 for a coin most people wouldn't even glance at if they saw it lying on the street. What makes it even more incredible is the possibility that there could be others out there. Coins like this often go unnoticed. They might be sitting in someone's drawer, tossed in a jar, or even spent at a gas station. That's the magic of error coins. You don't need to be rich to find one. All it takes is a little knowledge, some luck, and a close look at the change in your pocket. Next time you handle a quarter, especially one from 1980, take a second to look closer. Check the weight. Examine the size. Look at the edge. If something feels off, if it looks like it doesn't belong, you might be looking at one of the rarest coins in U.S. history. The 1980 Washington quarter that sold for $49,000 is a reminder that the smallest mistake can become the most valuable treasure. In the hands of the right person, even an ordinary coin can change your life. Hidden among billions of coins is the chance to find something extraordinary. Will you be the next one to discover it? Top 4. In the vast sea of everyday pocket change, the Washington quarter is one of the most overlooked coins in American history. It's the kind of coin people toss into tip jars, laundry machines, or the bottom of a drawer without a second glance. But every once in a while, one of these unassuming coins breaks all the rules. One of them defies the odds, challenges expectations, and turns into something legendary. That's exactly what happened with a rare 1990 Washington quarter. A coin so unique and mysterious, it stunned the numismatic world when it sold for an incredible $61,000. Not because of what it was meant to be, but because of what it wasn't. The 1990 quarter is, by all appearances, a modern coin. It was struck during a period when coin design was standardized, minting errors were rare, and quality control was tighter than ever. It was made of copper-nickel clad, not silver, and nothing about its appearance screams expensive. But one particular 1990 Washington quarter would go on to rewrite that story. Thanks to a minting error so rare, most collectors will never even see one in their lifetime. This specific coin was missing something essential, something every quarter must legally have: the mint mark. Since the 1980s, mint marks were no longer hand-punched, but machine-applied during the die-making process. That should have made missing mint marks nearly impossible. But somehow, in 1990, a small number of quarters were struck using dies that had no mint mark at all. These weren't weak strikes. They weren't worn-out coins. The mint mark was simply never there to begin with. A missing mint mark on a modern coin is an extremely rare error, especially on a quarter. It turns the coin from ordinary to extraordinary. But what pushed this particular 1990 Washington quarter into history wasn't just the missing mint mark. It was the condition. This coin was found in near-perfect, uncirculated condition, graded at the highest levels, with sharp details, untouched surfaces, and flawless luster. That combination, a rare error and pristine condition, made it a dream coin for collectors. When it went to auction, it drew attention across the nation. Collectors, investors, and dealers all recognized what they were looking at: a coin that defied logic, a fluke in the minting process that slipped through every layer of inspection. The bidding was fierce, and when the gavel finally dropped, this single 1990 Washington quarter sold for an astonishing $61,000. That's $61,000 for a coin that was supposed to be worth just 25 cents. A coin most people wouldn't think twice about. A coin that could have easily ended up in a vending machine or parking meter. But instead, it became one of the most expensive and sought-after modern quarters in U.S. history. What's even more amazing is the idea that there could be more out there. Most people don't inspect their quarters. Most people don't check for mint marks. But hidden in plain sight, there could be another minting error just waiting to be discovered. A rare piece of U.S. minting history lost in circulation. And that's what makes stories like this so powerful. The 1990 Washington quarter that sold for $61,000 is more than just a coin. It's a reminder that even in a world of mass production and automation, rare mistakes still happen. And sometimes, those mistakes are worth a small fortune. So check your change. Look twice at every coin you hold. Because history shows, the next big discovery might not come from a museum, but from the palm of your hand. Top 5. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American pocket change since 1932. It's a coin so common that it passes through millions of hands every single day without a second glance. But in rare cases, one of those coins hides a secret, a flaw so rare, so unexpected, and so valuable that it transforms an everyday object into a six-figure treasure. That's exactly what happened with one very special 1992 Washington quarter. At first glance, it looked like any other. But under the surface, it held a secret that would eventually shock the coin-collecting world. A mistake so rare, it turned a 25-cent coin into a $55,000 collector's prize. In 1992, the U.S. Mint was still producing standard Washington quarters made from copper nickel clad, the typical coin with a silvery appearance and a copper-colored edge. But in a twist of fate, a small number of quarters from that year were accidentally struck on planchets that were never meant to be used, leftover silver blanks from proof coinage. These planchets were supposed to be reserved for special collector editions, minted with sharp, mirror-like finishes and carefully packaged for sale. Somehow, a few of these silver planchets made their way into the presses used for regular circulation quarters. The result? A 1992 Washington quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet, something that was never intended to exist. The average person wouldn't notice the difference. The coin looked nearly identical to the others from that year. But to a trained eye, or even just someone curious enough to check, the weight would be slightly heavier, the shine slightly brighter, the edge missing the telltale copper streak. That subtle difference was enough to catch the attention of a seasoned collector, and what they discovered was one of the rarest minting errors of the modern era. Experts authenticated the coin and confirmed the truth. It was a genuine 1992 quarter, struck not on the usual copper-nickel planchet, but on a 90% silver blank. That made it a transitional error, a type of mistake where leftover materials from one production process get used in another. In the world of coin collecting, transitional errors are among the most desirable because they happen so rarely and are almost impossible to fake. When this particular silver 1992 quarter went up for auction, it quickly caught fire. Collectors from all over the country competed for the chance to own it. Bids rose higher and higher, and by the time the final hammer fell, the coin had sold for an astonishing $55,000. That's more than most cars, more than some college tuitions, for a single quarter. What makes this story even more incredible is the possibility that others may exist. If one silver planchet made its way into general production, who's to say there weren't more? Who's to say there isn't another 1992 silver quarter sitting unnoticed in a coin jar, a cash register, or a forgotten drawer somewhere? That's the beauty of rare coins. They don't always look flashy. They're not always gold or encrusted with jewels. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a little curiosity to uncover their true worth. The 1992 Washington quarter that sold for $55,000 stands as one of the most valuable and mysterious modern quarters in U.S. history. It's a reminder that minting errors, rare, genuine, and accidental, can turn even the most ordinary piece of change into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. So the next time you get a quarterback in change, don't be so quick to toss it aside. Look at the edge. Feel the weight. Study the shine. Because hidden among billions of coins is the chance to find something truly special. A piece of history, a rare treasure, and maybe, just maybe, a $55,000 quarter.